Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for coming to the Bridgton Winter Farmers Market. My name's Jimmy DiBiase. I'm the Executive Director of the Maine Federation of Farmers Markets. I'd like to thank the Bridgton Winter Market for hosting this press conference today, and our speakers who are standing behind me, who I'll introduce as they come up to speak. We are here today to stand up for SNAP. SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It's a federal program formerly known as food stamps that brings over $300 million to fight food insecurity in the state of Maine to the most vulnerable people in our community. Specifically, we are here to draw attention to the bill that is currently being negotiated between Congress and Senate in Washington, D.C. that would cut SNAP benefits by anywhere from 20 to 30%. Effectively, that's what it would do. The language is very minced. There's work requirements that they're trying to add, which already exist in Maine and many other states. There's cost sharing, where they would expect a state like Maine to come up with another $90 million in our budget a year to fund SNAP. So SNAP is a vital lifeline to rural communities and to a lot of people facing food insecurity. And we are here today to ask our elected officials to please protect SNAP. Do not support any budget with SNAP cuts involved. And if anything, support legislation that is adding more SNAP into the pockets of hardworking Mainers who deserve it, and people across the country. So why am I here? Why is the Maine Federation of Farmers Markets hosting this press conference right now? Our organization supports 50 farmers markets across the state that receive SNAP. Those markets also offer a program called Maine Harvest Bucks. And what that program does is when people shop with SNAP at farmers markets, they get bonus bucks. It effectively doubles the value of their SNAP benefits, where they can then use those to buy fresh fruits and vegetables directly from the farmers. So in Maine, at those farmers markets and farm stands that participate, it's about $1 million a year that goes straight to those farmers' pockets, supporting over 400 farms and small food businesses across the state and thousands of livelihoods. So this is a very important topic to our community of small businesses and farms that participate in farmers markets and get to feed their community thanks to SNAP and Maine Harvest Bucks. So beyond farmers markets, there's over 1,400 retailers in Maine that receive SNAP. And again, it's $340 million is the projected amount of SNAP that Maine would see this year. Just in February, it was $29 million. In Oxford County, it was $1.7 million just for 1 month. These are direct payments that go into people's pockets, into their EBT cards, and can only be used on food, on SNAP-eligible food. SNAP is an incredible program. As somebody who runs a lot of public health programs, 95% of the dollar, 95 cents on the dollar, goes directly to the food purchase. It is highly efficient. There is very little fraud. And I can tell you a bit about the people who use SNAP in Maine. Over 6,000 are veterans. Over 80% of the households that receive SNAP in Maine either have children, have a senior, or have somebody with a disability. And over 70% of the households that receive SNAP in Maine have a working person in the household. Any descriptor of fraud or attention on fraud or people not working when it comes to SNAP is a distraction. It's not true. These are programs that are vital to feeding America and feeding Maine, and to supporting small rural economies. With Harvest Bucks, I just want to point out, with SNAP and Harvest Bucks at farmers markets, we have a lot of hardworking farms that don't make a lot of profit. They're not in it for the money. They have very tight margins, and these sales mean a lot to them. And across the country, people that participate in these bonus bucks programs like Maine Harvest Bucks, they're eating more fruits and vegetables than the average American. So SNAP in and of itself is a public health program. We know at the end of the month when benefits run out, because SNAP only lasts 2 weeks for the average household, we know that there's an increase in hospitalizations. We know that grades go down. SNAP is feeding seniors, SNAP is feeding people with diet-related preventable illnesses, and it's helping treat those issues. Food is medicine. There's a lot I wanted to say, and I think I've said most of it, but I really want to just draw attention to the public health impacts that I alluded to as well. We have somebody here today who's going to speak from the food pantry perspective and the farmers market perspective, but SNAP nourishes whole communities. It's not just the people that receive those benefits, it's those dollars circulating in Maine's economy. Every dollar spent with SNAP, economists estimate, is one and a half to another 1.5 to 1.8 multiplier. So I don't want to draw recession fears, but it's hard to imagine what $90 million for Maine's economy, what I think it's $6 million in Oxford County that would be cut for the year, what that's going to do to these rural economies that lack those dollars. Yeah, that's just again drawing attention to there's a bill in Congress. There's a budget resolution in Congress that has SNAP on the chopping block for these cuts, and we really ask Senator Collins, Representative Golden, and Senator King to make sure they are voting for a bill that is protecting or adding funds to this program and not cutting it. And we also want to thank Representative Pingree for her great work in drawing attention to SNAP and the federal farm programs that are helping our farmers and our communities eat. So next up, we have a few speakers. We have Senator Richard Bennett here, who represents parts of Oxford and a few other counties. We then have Brenna Mae Thomas Googans, who is a market organizer and a longtime vendor here at the Bridgton Farmers Market. And then we're going to hear from Sandy Sweat, who is the director of the Harrison Food Bank, the largest food pantry in the state. We also have, afterwards, we have time for Q&A, and we have folks from Representative Pingree's office here, and we also have our local town select person for this city, and we also have somebody from Good Shepherd Food Bank here. So happy to chat more. But without further ado, thanks for being here, and we'll let Senator Bennett speak next.
Thank you, Jimmy. Jimmy's tall. I'm going to push this down a little bit. My name is Rick Bennett. I live in Oxford, and I have the honor of serving the people of 14 towns across rural Maine in the state Senate. 10 of my towns are in Oxford County, and 2 here in Cumberland County, Bridgton and Harrison, and then 2 way over in Androscoggin County, Minot and Mechanic Falls. SNAP is a lifeline for thousands of Maine families, providing essential support to those who are struggling to put food on the table. Federal cuts to Maine's program would only deepen food insecurity and push vulnerable individuals and families into hardship. Maintaining and strengthening this critical program is not just an investment in health, but in the lifeblood of our communities. As I said, 10 of the towns I represent are in Oxford County. Let me elaborate on Jimmy's comments and share some statistics about the importance of SNAP for my neighbors in Oxford County. 16% of the people of Oxford County participate in SNAP, compared to 12% across the state. In February of this year, $1,700,000 in SNAP money was spent in Oxford County by 5,852 residents. 60 retailers, mostly small businesses, rely on SNAP for their income. 3,289 children in Oxford County need SNAP to eat. The cuts being contemplated in Washington are severe, $230 billion or more over 10 years. This is a 21 to 25% cut to the program. Such draconian measures would be devastating to the people of rural Maine. At a time of serious budget challenges in Maine government, a new state match requirement of just 5% would cost Maine $18 million a year. What is being proposed by some is a 25% match that would cost Maine $90 million a year to continue the food assistance to the 172,000 Maine people that depend on it. For our community, such a cut would result in a decline as well in our economy of an expected $112 million a year, a loss of 600 jobs, and $8 million less in state and local revenues. I come here today to say to the politicians in Washington, D.C., remember the people who elected you. Don't turn your backs on rural Americans. Don't be cavalier with the health and safety of Maine families. Stop the disruption and the chaos. Give people in difficult times a hand up. Embrace kindness and compassion. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm even shorter than Rick is. Hi, I'm Brenna Mae Thomas Googans from Denmark, Maine, and I own and operate Patch Farm, along with my farming partner Brandon and a whole slew of really wonderful employees who come to my farm. I've had the pleasure of being with the Bridgton Farmers Market now for more years than I can actually remember. It might be 14 or 15. And as a farmers market, yearly we support over 35 different businesses from the Lakes region of Maine. We host an information booth where our farmers market on the whole accepts credit card payments for everybody, SNAP and EBT, and a whole host of other regional food access programs. We have an awesome music tent during the summer where people can come and sit and enjoy the space. And we also support a community tent for no cost where our area nonprofits and different community organizations can share what they do with the public that comes to our market. My story today is to share the impact that any cuts in federal funding to the SNAP program would have as an effect on both our market, our customers, and myself as a farmer. We've accepted SNAP at this market since 2014 in its current iteration, and through the Maine Federation of Farmers Markets have been offering harvest bucks as well. And my farm alone since then has seen over a 400% increase in the SNAP funding that we take in as our customers spend their money with us and utilize it to fit their needs. And that's just an amazing thing to me to see the growth that this program has had in this area for just about 10 years. That over those years, we have built a network of farmers and support to be able to offer fresh local foods to the customers in our community. They choose to come here to our farm to buy locally grown produce instead of going to another store where they might be buying something from out of the country. In 2024, our market saw over 230 families spending their SNAP dollars at market. And these families, which we have the privilege to see every single week, choose to spend their dollars with us. Like, that is so exciting to me to know that I have seen children grow up, right? I'm thinking specifically of the girl I've seen every other week for the last 4 years. She was this high and now she's this high. And every week she comes with her mom and she says, "What weird vegetable are we gonna pick out today?" And I get to show her the watermelon radish that when you cut it open is bright pink on the inside and green on the outside. And she doesn't know what it tastes like. She just knows that she trusts the food and she trusts me as her farmer to steer her in the right direction. It pains me to consider that federal funding federal funding loss might happen and might occur. 20 to 30% is 2 to 3 less families that we get to see every week come to farmers market. I might no longer have the privilege of picking out that watermelon radish for her, or to explain to somebody that I prefer mashing my turnips instead of roasting them. already today, I saw 4 different families using SNAP and EBT, and we've only been open for about 2 hours. It gives me chills to know that I get to feed the people who really need it the most. I myself as a farmer, if I see a reduction in that income, is going to affect not only me, but my staff. After doing the math, the loss would be a whole week's worth of payroll for me and my employees who I get to have work at the farm, who they get to come and get the dirt under their fingernails and the vitamin D during the winter as we work in our high tunnels. These small things add up. And sometimes, we think, 20 to 30%, that's not much, but it is so much when we think about the personal connections that we make with children, with adults, with seniors, with veterans, with other farmers, with community organizations. We are all impacted by this, and I just implore those in our government who have a big voice to listen to our small voices, because we are the ones who are truly seeing this impact. And so I really hope that these cuts don't happen. And I also hope that if you haven't been in yet to our farmers market, you come and take a peek. I have daikon radish and lettuce mix, and I'm excited to tell you how you can eat them if you would like. So thank you so much for coming today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm Sandy Sweat from Harrison Food Bank, and we started 8 years ago, and we started with 16 families. We now host 1,000 families a week, and we have a delivery service, and we're teetering right on 400 families, and that's amazing. These are families that are from rural Maine. They're the most vulnerable. If they take away SNAP benefits, we're going to see a lot more. And our food supplies have been cut drastically. I welcome anybody to come to my food bank and look at the empty shelves. It's amazing. Portland Press Herald was there, and they were quite surprised, and they're going to run an article, to help to show people that these food banks are depending on food supplies, and without the SNAP benefits, we're just going to be hit harder. And what are we going to do? We pick up 120 locations throughout greater Portland area. We're on the road with 2 big box trucks 4 days a week, and the supplies have dwindled. Stores are keeping their food longer. If we depend on grants and people in donations and the federal government for our food supplies. I just picked up TFAP. TFAP is what gives us our canned goods for the food bank and our staple goods. I picked up 3 pallets. It's 3 pallets. This is supposed to last a month. I normally pick up a truckload. All of a sudden, our vegetables, they have been knocked down as well. They're talking about 20%, but this week I got a pallet of cilantro. What do you do with a pallet of cilantro? That's really difficult. So if you're looking at what we're feeding, I have always boasted that I want to feed a family a week's worth of balanced groceries. Food is a basic human right, folks, and we need to feed our children and our seniors. I have people, I'm talking about real life stories here. I have old ladies that cry and say, I haven't had an orange in years. I can't afford that. I've had people that just want to hug me for doing this food bank, and it's sad. I deal with 63 towns, and I think the highest is 51% poverty line. I've always told people there's the country mouse and the city mouse. City mouse, they are in the Portland, and there's services on every street corner. Out here, they're trying to survive, and they're driving miles for food. Now, all the doctor's offices, the schools, everybody is monitoring for food insecurity. We have children in the high school that are couch surfing. They don't have a home anymore. We have 300 children that I've been identified as food insecure in Oxford High School. That's pathetic, folks. You know, these are the people we're talking about when you're cutting SNAP benefits. You know, we need these, and this is so important. We need to all get out and tell our federal government that you can cut programs, but food is a basic human right. This is not something that you cut. You're hurting families, you're hurting the older generation, you're hurting veterans, you're hurting children, educational, and the economy, what it brings in. These are all important factors that we need to look at. You know, I am very committed. I have 50 volunteers, and we're heartbroken right now because we just don't have the food to pass out. We've gone to basically one box. We used to have 2 large boxes, one that was had a bag of meat, a protein, and a bag of miscellaneous, which could be cheese, yogurt, pre-made sandwiches, and then we'd fill it rounding over with fresh vegetables. In the summertime, I would pick up Western Farms is great. He's paid for his vegetables. You know, is that program going to go away? You know, that's going to hurt everybody. That's the one box. And then we have a box of fruit that we give out. And we also have dry goods. Right now, last week, I didn't have any fruit other than what I picked up that was coming to date at the stores. Coming to date could mean it's got a bad spot in it, or it's not premium fruit. That was all I had. It was probably maybe 3 banana box full, you know, of fruit. I divide that to 1,000 families. I have to tell my volunteers every morning at 7 o'clock, I want you to go in that walk-in and I want you to look, and you in your mind figure out how you're going to divide all that fresh produce for 1,000 boxes. This is crazy. We need to extend our SNAP benefits. We're seeing higher grocery prices every single day, you know, and things change monthly, weekly, and even hourly now in prices. And so I can't tell you enough. Please come visit my food pantry. I could probably talk your ear off. I'm going to be good and stop. I could go on past SNAP benefits, but thank you very much, and for coming and standing up for people's rights.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Carrie Castleman-Ross from Bridgton. I'd like to thank everyone here for coming, representing your various factions, and for all the hard work they do. I would just like to speak as a Bridgton resident who deals with the budget of this town and let you know that I would like to speak for the residents of Bridgton as someone who deals with the budget of this town. All of the things that are going to impact lower income residents and the farmers who supply their food, that is one thing. But if you don't think that food insecurity is not going to affect you, I am here to tell you that that is not correct. Because if we cannot have SNAP benefits consistently coming to our towns, then that is going to fall on the local residents. That is going to impact our budget bottom line. We are already dealing with harsh austerity measures in our budget. So it benefits everyone to speak up, speak out, let your representatives know that the SNAP program is invaluable for your fellow residents. We are all in this together. Thank you for being here today. SNAP. I'm off to town. The turnout at the protest is wonderful. They're blocking traffic. I gotta go play traffic cop. Have a wonderful day. I'm out of here. Okay.
Thanks, everybody. We'll move on to Q&A, and I just want to again call out that we have Jean Christie here from Representative Pingree Office. Jean, if you want to just come on over and hang out too, in case there's any questions for you. And we also have Courtney Kennedy here from the Good Shepherd Food Bank. And there's plenty of other reps here, you know, if the media wants to talk to somebody else from the market. Brenna May's here, but we also have some of the other organizers and vendors here too. Thanks.